Welcome to Like Minded with Dr. Patrice. Each episode, we'll sit down with different types of experts and unpack the role of mental health in our day-to-day lives. Today, we're joined by Benjamin Abiola, a multi-hyphenate creator whose journey spans continents, characters, and creative mediums. Together, we explore the emotional toll of tunnel vision, the cultural expectations of being a first-gen creative, and the sacrifices made in pursuit of stardom. He opens up about navigating relationships, pivoting into corporate entertainment, and what it means to be ready for the spotlight. Benjamin Abiola is a London-born, Texas-raised Nigerian creative, actor, comedian, and filmmaker now based in Los Angeles. With over 25 credits across film, shorts, TV, stage, and commercials, including a standout spot opposite Kevin Hart. Building worlds on screen and behind the scenes, Ben writes, directs, produces, and acts. From his award-winning, inspiring shorts like December 21st and Jalisa, to TV roles on projects such as Netflix's Devil May Cry, he is deeply invested in stories that explore identity, culture, and the unexpected. Ben's work shows up where art meets authenticity. Whether he's shaping narratives with his pen or standing under stage lights, he never loses the blend of humor, grit, and heart. Always creating, always evolving. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
So I want to talk a little bit about your journey. I know you started out doing sketches online, and you've since moved to LA to chase your dream, working with Alexa Kevin Hart and voicing a lead in Netflix's Devil May Cry. Can you take us back to that moment when you realized you weren't just making content for fun anymore, but actually kind of shaping your creative identity?
That's a great question. I think it had to have been 2015. I started doing these comedy videos online, and it was a bit controversial. I was doing like news videos, but I was it was I don't even want to say the name of the news channel, but it was a news channel, and I was doing these comedy videos, and they like kind of caught fire on Twitter, and people were reposting and sharing. I was like, okay, cool. But I also wanted to show I could do more than just this one character, this news anchor. And so I started evolving the comedy. I was working with a studio in Dallas and creating content with them. And it kind of got to the point where I was like, okay, I know there's something here. I'm seeing the creative landscape change. Like I'm seeing Viners now, and people are going like VidCon and all these just different things. So I was like, there's a space here that I think if I take it a little bit more seriously, I could possibly thrive in. A lot of my friends were already big on social platforms already, like Vine and YouTube and things
doing
of that
comedy.
Nature. They were already doing comedy and sketches and just funny videos online. And so kind of seeing how they were moving and being in those circles kind of motivated me even more to be like, okay, I know I belong here. It's just a matter of like applying myself. And so that transition was just me like saying, okay, I'm kind of done with where I am in life right now. I was working in corporate America. I was at a cubicle calling people and I was working, funny enough, with small businesses in California while I was in Texas. And so like businesses in Hermosa Beach and all these places I've never been to. And then fast forward to me moving to California to pursue my dreams, which was really cool.
Oh, wow. I'm interested in like kind of those early characters that you were playing, and you said it was like controversial. I'd be interested to know in what ways, and then how, as you realized that I want to take this more seriously, how that made you want to change the kind of content you were creating.
For sure. And it wasn't controversial in the sense that it was just like I was out here wilding. It was more so, it was just like, realizing I had to I have more to offer. It was kind of just me saying, okay, that's fun, but I also don't want to be pigeonholed into that. So I was like, let me see what other avenues, and I started exploring other characters, other types of content.
And what kind of characters did you feel like aligned with as you progressed, and like what really caught on with people?
Doing a lot of African content, I think, in the early days, just because it wasn't as nuanced. Like people didn't really see that, but it was such a niche and relatable field if you had African friends, if you are African, if you've seen anything related to it. And so I would play an African dad character, just that whole troop of like, why aren't you getting grades? Why aren't you reading your books? What are you doing? And so I would play like myself and an African dad, and people, took to that character as well.
Yeah. Let's talk about that, because you come from a Nigerian background, right? And so, you've spoken about like, that there's this maybe script about what success looks like, doctor, lawyer, engineer. How have you navigated those kind of cultural pressures? Like, I appreciate that you're bringing the comedy in of it that people can relate to, but how have you navigated those also for yourself?
It's definitely gotten easier.
Okay.
I think, when I was in college, my major was political science. Went to college at West Texas A&M University, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to become a lawyer. In my first semester, I was on academic probation.
About that.
And you know what I mean? And it just was more so me like seeing this whole new freedom. I grew up in a strict household, this, that, and the other. So it's like, yeah, I wasn't focused, right?
Yes.
Got it back on track, obviously, but it wasn't until my junior year that I realized I actually don't necessarily want to do this anymore. In high school, I was in speech and debate, different UIL competitions, and so I was really heavily ingrained with just that world. But once I got to college and experienced different things, I was like, I do still love law and politics and all those things, but it's not the focal point.
I see.
And so I switched my major from political science to just communications, corporate communications.
Okay, how did that go over?
That everybody in Nigeria got called. You know what I mean? Like it was not a good thing. I told my mom first. She was like, oh, okay, that's fine, but what are you trying to do? You know what I mean? Told my dad, he was you're supposed to be going to law. You're supposed to be doing, and it was just like, well, I just wasn't interested. It's like, what do you want to do? Creative writing? What's so creative about that? You know, it's like you're just trying to like, show that there isn't just one way to success. I think was my thing. But they also wanted me to just have a backup plan, right? Have something that's tangible that we know, quote unquote, works in today's society, which is having a degree, having a skill set that people can pay you for. And so communications or comedy or all those things that I ended up doing wasn't necessarily the direct path to success. And so when I officially told my family that I was moving from Texas to California to explore, it was just like, you don't have a master's degree. Like, what are you doing? Like, why would you? And so,
well, and you're leaving also that job, right? Like, this is
leaving the job,
the corporate kind of job that you had.
I had just made, prior to that, I was working in banking for about 4 or 5 years at one company.
Okay.
And then I left that company to work at another one, and I was only there for a year. So it literally was a year to date of me working there that I ended up putting my, not 2 weeks, I'm done.
Wow.
Letter and saying, hey, I'm moving to California. And so big risk because I only had maybe $7,000 saved up to come out here, if that, and that was gone within like 2 months.
It doesn't take long out here.
It doesn't take long at all.
Yeah.
And so to them, they just wanted to make sure I truly had a plan.
Yes.
I had the concept of a plan, but I didn't have it fully fleshed out.
Yes, only going to get you so far. Okay, and so tell me about, like, take me back to when you first came to LA and you saved the money, you saw people doing what you wanted to do. What were those kind of early days like for you?
So I first visited LA in 2016 before later moving there in 2016. It was me, a bunch of my friends who were in the creative space. We came out here for VidCon.
Okay.
I actually didn't go to the event, but a lot of them were speaking at it or had panels, meet and greets, things of that nature. But I was like, I'm just down for the vibes.
Yeah.
And so we got an Airbnb, and it was just fun. It was like being in LA, seeing the palm trees, listening to the music. It was just... when you're in a place for a certain time, you're like, I could live here. You know what I mean? And so it was one of those things. And so we did one trip. We came back, did another trip. And so we visited twice. And then after that second trip, it was just like, okay, how do we make this a reality? And so a few of my friends were like, okay, let's all get serious, get a place together, and we can really like chase this dream together. And a lot of them were like, okay, cool, let's do it. So we had people moving from Texas, Detroit, all over the nation to come together to like make this dream real. And so it worked out. We moved to North Hollywood in like later that year. And then, the rest is history, honestly. It was just kind of hard for us to even think about it because sometimes you're like, oh yeah, it's like making it out of the group chat, right? Everyone's like, yeah, let's go on this group trip. And then only 2 people go. So it was like a lot of us at first, and then it would shrink, and then we had to go recruit another person and this, that, and the other. And so when I first got out here, we actually didn't have a place to live.
Oh my goodness.
And so I had
How many of you were there?
5.
Okay.
5 of us, but I actually came first. I was like, I'll go out here. I had another friend of mine, who I still live with today. It's my boy. He was staying with a family member maybe like an hour outside of LA. And so he would help us go look at the apartments and video time or FaceTime us video, show us like what it looked like. And so we ended up not having a place though when I first got here because something went wrong with the landlord. And so I was staying in a hostel actually for like a month and a half until a good friend of mine, Richard Neville's, Richie Loco, he let me crash on his couch for a couple months before I was able to finally find our place in North Hollywood. And so it was just a journey because it was like, man, I risked my job, I did all this, and then didn't have a place to stay. So I was like, I couldn't tell my parents.
No, okay, so let's talk about that. Like, what was your kind of mental state in that moment where you had given up everything and it's kind of hard to turn back at that point, but you know, you don't have the place to stay. You don't want to tell your parents what's going on. How were you coping?
It was hard at first. You know, you're checking into a hostel where it's 8 people in one room sharing one bathroom, and it's like, what is going on? You know what I mean? And so doing that for like 2 weeks, it wasn't the best, but I was grateful that I had friends who were in town who would come visit me, and they'd just be like, oh yeah, let's go out, let's do it. So I didn't have to stay there the whole time. But I think it did kind of make me question myself a little bit, like, wow, like maybe did you rush this? Like maybe you should have kind of did more preparation or made sure it was solidified, because the lady was just like, oh yeah, no, don't worry, when you come you'll have a place, but there was no guarantee. I'm like, hey, I've landed in LA, like where do I go? And she's like, well, I'm at skate night, so I'm like, I'm homeless. You at skate night? What are you talking about right now? So it was, when I write a book, she gonna make a chapter of that.
It's a learning experience.
Yeah, learning experience for sure.
And what was it like for you keeping that from your family?
It was just like, I didn't want them to worry.
Yeah.
You know, it was just like, oh, Wale, how are you? How's California? Oh, it's good, Mom. You know, the sun is shining. You know,
which is
beautiful.
true, but also
there.
like,
but also I am in a bunk bed. You know what I mean? So, you know, I quickly, you know, got my shit together and then let them know, like, yeah, this was the situation, because my car hadn't been shipped from Texas to LA yet, so I had to still wait about a week or two before it actually came. And so when I got the car, I was able to be more mobile and kind of take more matters into my own hands. I just didn't want to be like, hey, I don't have my car, I don't have that, I can't really make any moves. And so again, you know, after that month or so, and when I went over to my boy Richie's crib, he was staying in Norwalk, I want to say. That was a little while. And so I was staying out there for a little bit, Uber driving and lifting and doing all the things just to continue to be able to, you know, fund everything that was going to come after. But yeah, it wasn't easy. My sisters knew, but they kept it tight. You know, they don't always let me down.
You need to be able to confide in someone.
Exactly.
But...
I was like, I'm struggling. Nah.
Right. So this has been almost 10 years. So you spent nearly a decade chasing your dream with like an incredible level of focus and drive. So that kind of commitment can definitely come at a cost. You know, spoken with other creators. And they've often shared that it can have an impact on relationships, with family, romantic relationships, all those kinds of things. What has been your experience when you're so kind of singularly focused on a goal?
Yeah, that's very true. I think for me specifically, I think the biggest thing is sacrifice, right? I think for me, like, love my family, love my sisters, mom, dad, everybody, and having to sacrifice that. For me, even just going to college for those 4 years, I went to a college that was like 6 hours away. Then I finally coming back home, and then now within that year or two, I'm moving to California, and so I missed a lot of moments. You know, missed my sisters growing up, parents getting older, all those things. And so, you know, I think it was hardest when it's like you're not being able to go home for Thanksgiving or Christmas because the tickets were expensive, and is it go home or pay rent? You know what I mean? And
or you have an opportunity in front of you, and like, oh, I have to take this because I don't know when the next one's coming.
Exactly. It's like, you know, but this commercial, I know it's only gonna pay me $1,000, but
I need the $1,000.
I need that $1,000. So it's definitely a sacrifice. I think there's a balance to it. I think, thankfully, my sisters are older now. Thankfully, my parents understand, you know, what it is I'm out here chasing, and they're more understanding of it and receptive of it. So we try to make it work the best as possible. I think in personal relationships, romantic relationships, I think I'm so hyper-focused on my goal. Like when I came to LA, it was to chase the dream to make it. Like I told myself, in 3 years, I'm on. You know, I've made it. And that was a joke. You know what I'm saying? Like, and perspective makes you feel like you might have made it. Like, oh, wow, you're out there chasing your dreams. Like, there's a version of that is making it, yes. But like to the standard that I wanted, I was so far away from that. And I'm still not there yet. But because I came out here with the mindset of like, oh yeah, I'm literally just going to LA to make it, to chase my dreams. Love wasn't on the forefront of my mind. You know, starting a family, getting married out here, all that would be nice, but it wasn't like what I was centered my focus on. And so I've been so tunnel vision that I feel like I'm realizing that I do lack in some of those places in my relationships with women, with my family, even with friends. Like, you know, they tell me sometimes I'm very much out of sight, out of mind.
Oh, really? Do you think that's true?
I believe so. And then it's not like I'm purposely like, I don't care about this person. It's like I'm so like, okay, this is what's in front of me right now. I haven't reached it yet. And I'm so hyper-focused because I know this is going to now open up things for me in the future. So it's like, if I could just get this place, if I could just hit this goal, maybe I'll have more time to spend time with family, to put my mom in that house, take my friends on this group trip vacation or whatever, or, spend time with the woman I love. You know what I mean? And so I feel like all those things came secondary, and I never realized it until people brought it to my attention, and I was like, okay, I can be a little bit selfish. Like, I am so focused on what it is that I want that sometimes I don't consider others' feelings, in the sense that I'm kind of just like, okay, well, when I get to where I need to get to, I can handle that. And so,
well, I think, Ben, too, it's really interesting to think about, like, that word, that idea of being selfish, in talking to other creators. It also feels like, if you have an idea for something or there's an opportunity, it's also very immediate. And so that is the thing you have to react to. And a lot of times the goal will be, well, I'm doing this for, like, the long-term good, so that when I'm in a relationship, I can be present, or I can do these things for my friends and for my family. And so I think it's a tricky balance of deciding, is it really being selfish, or is it being focused? At what point do we cross over and you look around and you're like, oh, these are not maybe the relationships that I want to have in my life, or the support that I want to have. Like, what do you think the balance is for you now, after people brought it to your attention and kind of like reflecting on it?
I can't internalize it too much. I think I have in the past for a long time, like, oh man, I feel bad. Like, oh, this person feels this way, and I can't necessarily control that, right? I can only control what I can control. And a lot of times I know I can be better. Like, I don't want to sit here and just be like, oh, I'm chasing these dreams and nothing else matters. Like, I know I can take a little bit more time out to be like, yo, what you up to? And check in. And I've done a lot better with checking in and trying to do those things as well. Excuse me. But it's like, I don't know. I think I tell people, you just kind of have to understand, like, this is the world. It's hard for me sometimes because I'll look at my age mates, right? Like, in African culture, there's this euphemism, at your big age, right?
Okay.
And like, it's basically a comparison, like, what you shouldn't be doing at your big age.
Okay,
right?
yes,
so,
yeah,
like,
because you're old enough to know better. Yes, okay.
And so, like, at my big age, like, they expect me now to be married, housewife, and kids. You know what I'm saying? And I'm seeing people younger than me with that. And so in my mind, I'm just like, man, like, I know I want that. I know that's a goal of mine. But because I haven't got that now, does that not mean what I'm chasing isn't important, or just as important to me? And so I think the pressures of society, family, friends kind of make me feel a certain way. But like I said, trying not to internalize it makes it, like, worth it all. Because I'm just like, at the end of the day, I know what the goal is, and I know that I think this will open up more room for me. So I think it's like, I haven't come this far just to come this far.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Makes a lot of sense. I also think, just acknowledging that you're kind of straddling two sets of expectation and two cultures, right, in that way. And I think because there's the family, and, like, you see other people, your age, and they're doing these things. But then out here in LA, your way is probably more common, where people are waiting till they, like, make it, till that thing comes along for them.
It's completely
yes.
different.
So, and it's probably hard to explain that, to family. And
It
say,
is.
like, no, here, this is good. It's normal.
People have roommates. They have roommates. They don't have wives. It's a whole situation. And so I try not to, because, they say comparison is like the thief of joy. And so, and sometimes you can compare in a good way, right? But when it gets to the point where you're like, oh, should I now change course because I'm feeling as though I'm running out of time, or this is only for a limited amount of time? Like, oh, my friends are buying homes and they're doing this, and I'm just like, I'm hitting the age where, okay, what do I own, or what do I? And so it's like, well, I know if you stay focused on this, you're gonna get there. And so just try not to get distracted by the voices.
Yeah. Sure. You're making me think of something. When I was growing up, my friend's grandmother, she used to always say, I don't know why she's giving this kind of advice, like, to young kids, but anyway, she was saying that with women, if it's the person, they will make the situation right. And with men, a lot of times they need the timing to be right in order to allow that person to be in their lives. And it's always, I think about that a lot. And just when you were talking about that, like, wanting to line things up in a specific way before you feel like you're ready, it just kind of made me think about that. Do you think that there's truth to that?
I think so. I think that applies to me, because a lot of times when I have these conversations with friends or women that I'm involved with, they're just like, why can't you do it now? Like, why do you feel like you have to wait to do this? Or, I'm here to build with you in these moments, or this, that, and the other. And it's like, I agree 1000%. But there's times where now I'm like, oh, I can't pour into you the same way I'm pouring into myself.
I see.
Or I'm pouring here, I'm pouring there. And I think that's just the story of my own personal life. Is just being pulled from so many different angles and having so many eggs in different baskets and
Yes.
juggling so many different things and while learning how to juggle at the same time. And so I think, yeah, it's definitely true. I think timing is important, but I do feel like there's instances where I felt like I've waited too long, maybe, and you've let good people go out of your life,
Yeah.
and there's still love there, but it's also like I couldn't be that person for you,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Tell me more about that. You're talking to a therapist.
boy.
Like you're opening up, man.
No, I mean, I just think
what made you realize that? Like in hindsight, what did you realize that you were not able to do for that person? And is your wish that you had done things differently, or is it just kind of acknowledgement that that's where you honestly were in your life?
a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of both. I think, trying to please everybody kind of catches up to you.
Yeah.
Whether it's romantically, non-romantically, whatever. Like saying yes too many times, yes to everything can overwhelm you. And I think
and cause resentment, actually.
Yeah, and so I think even in like relationships, I'm just like, okay, yeah, I know I could have paid more attention to this, or no, I could have given more energy to making this work, but I was so focused on how to get to this next level in my own personal life, or, oh, I got to find a way to pay these bills.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I'm sorry, you know what I mean? But that was kind of the situation, and you knew what I was facing. You knew what I was trying to do in this moment. It just necessarily didn't work out because maybe I didn't give as much effort into it because I didn't prioritize.
Yes.
And I think me realizing, okay, what are my priorities, and being more upfront about it in the beginning will kind of make things a little bit smoother, I think.
Yeah.
And so just seeing people and I'm like, I would love to, but maybe I'm just not that guy right now.
Well, and I think it's such an interesting thing because it's not that the idea is that, one is like trying to be deceptive, by promising things that they have no intention of delivering. It's just like kind of sometimes in the moment we realize like, actually, I'm not capable of doing that for you, or I'm not capable of showing up for you and for myself in this moment, where I am right now. And I think that idea of being more proactive and saying that up front and just being honest, I guess, with yourself as much as with them is really key.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said something earlier about like feeling like you'd made it. What was that first moment when you felt like you made it, and how has that shifted over time? Like, what does success look like for you? What did it look like before, and what does it look like now?
That's a funny theory. It's like, so I have this thing, right? So I'm approaching 10 years in LA, right? I'm about to get my doctorate. I'm about to be like you. I'm about to be a doctor in LA.
Totally.
But there is stages to it, right?
Yes.
Like I say, like there's people who are still early in their years of living in Los Angeles, right? And 1 or 2 years, I'm like, okay, that's cool, that's cute. Like once you make 4 years, you got your degree.
Right.
You know a little something. You know how to navigate.
Yes.
You know where to go. Like for me, that 4 years was 2020, right? When the world shut down. And I realized that community is key.
Yes.
Right? Like I was having this mindset of like, hey, I'm just going to LA to go chase this dream, this, that, and the other. And I'm on an island, right? But on an island, you need a community. You need a village to survive that.
1 second, like I want to talk about that. So even coming here with people who were, like-minded, you still felt like you were on an island.
For sure.
Okay.
For sure. And that's no discredit to the people I was living with. Those are my brothers. I love them. But it's also like everyone's also chasing their own individual dream, right? I think there's obviously situations where we could have probably worked even harder to accomplish it together, especially in today's landscape. But I think everybody was so hyper-focused on, okay, how are we paying this bill, one? And then two, what is it that I'm out here for?
Okay.
And then with everybody on different success levels, quote unquote, like you have people who've moved here having already made it, having already gotten fame or credibility for the work that they do. And then there's people who are chasing to get to that. So there is different levels to it. And I think for me, I was the guy who's coming from corporate, who understands the world, who was managing some of these people at a point. But now I'm like stepping into their world as a creator. Yes. So it's like I'm also infringing on their territory. You know what I mean? Like who's this guy thinking he can do all this, right? And so, yeah, I think that made me feel like I was on an island. It's like I know I have to get to where I need to get to either be on that same level, surpass it, or bring everybody up.
Yes.
And so, yeah, after that 4 year, I realized like, okay, community is key. Like, that's what's important. Okay, now I got my degree. 2 more years, 6 years in LA. Now I'm like, okay, I got my master's. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can tell you where to go. I know this, that, and the other. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm approaching number 10. Exactly. So now I'm getting my doctorate. But like even that in these 10 years or 10,000 hours, all of the quote unquote made it or success has come in these last 2 years.
Mm.
And so I agree with the term that, it's a marathon,
Mm-hmm.
because when I thought I made it in 2019, in 2020, my make it was gone.
Yeah.
I had booked a gig as a motion capture and voiceover actor for this series called Hypezilla, and so I was basically this character that was drawn, and there were deals that were supposed to go through with this company, and we're getting ready to do season 2, and everything shuts down. I was like,
heartbreak. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Cool. What's next? You know what I mean? Didn't make it yet, I guess.
Yeah.
And, keep going. And so, now in these last 2 years, like, okay, great, you booked this national commercial. That's fun. You have a lead role on a Netflix animation series. That's great. But it's always like, you're only as good as your next job in this industry. And so it's like, when do you truly ever make it? And I think it is only up to you as a creator, as a person. And I still don't know what that is for me. I think financially I'll know when I've made it.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you think that, or do you think, I think what also often happens is that like the target keeps moving, right?
Yes.
It's like, okay, this is what I would have thought.
Yes.
And now I feel good and feel secure. And actually, maybe like that number is a little bit different, or maybe like the credits, it's like a different number than what I imagined it would be.
I think for me, I feel like, there's a number of years of this and then the other, but I think it's more about, one, being financially stable, but two, being able to wake up and create. That's when I know I've made it. Like, not having to create on anyone else's dime, or having to create because I'm tied to or tethered to one other thing.
Yes.
Like, I wake up, I make the rules. Okay, I want to go travel to this place and shoot this, or I want to go do stand up in this place, or I want to help my friend produce that. Like, that's when I know I've made it, because I have the option, I have the freedom, and I have the time to do it. I think so. The more time I get back, that's when I know I've made it.
Yes.
I feel like,
yes,
for sure.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Time and like creating your own opportunities, kind of just that freedom is, it kind of feels like success in a different way.
1000%.
Okay, so Ben, you've kind of you brought some like your corporate learnings like into the work that you're doing now. How do you utilize like that creator side of you, the corporate like experience that you have? How do you bring all of that into your work?
I'm blessed to work for a company, a Black-owned company that is also in the same spaces that I am in as a creative.
Okay.
Right? And so the blending and the merging of those two worlds, miraculously worked well, thank to God. But I think initially, like, I had a background in corporate America for banking, and that was random to me, because it's like I didn't want to do financing, and it was just a job that I had out of college, got promoted, and just kept going.
Just kept going,
And so, bringing that to LA and then completely just going cold turkey as a creative, right? It was just like, okay, how do I hustle? How do I make money? What am I doing outside of my 9-to-5 structure?
Yes.
So it's like you have all this time that was allotted for you. You have to be here. You take your lunch there. To now, like, oh, the world is my oyster. Like, okay,
which can be amazing and also pretty scary.
Right, very scary. It's like,
structure.
I'll wake up at 12. It's okay. Maybe, whatever. Now I got to go Uber drive for 12 hours to make this rent, or I got to go clap for Steve Harvey in the audience to make $75. Whatever it is, finding different ways. And so, truth be told, from 2016 to 2023, I hadn't worked corporate. Everything was jobs that I booked in acting or roles or, contract roles, creating. And so when I made that shift back to corporate in 2023, I'm now working Monday through Friday in office.
Okay.
And so a world that I'm used to, but those last however many years.
Right. That's a long time with a break from that world.
And so it's definitely been an adjustment. Again, I'm grateful because it's in the entertainment industry. It's a live events company, and we're producing festivals that acknowledge and champion Black storytelling. We have comedy festivals, things that I'm interested in. And so it's like, okay, cool. I can merge these worlds and also be an asset, because I'm not only a creator and comedian, I'm also a behind the scenes producer now.
Yes.
And so I'm able to bring what I know as talent to my corporate world, and then also as the corporate world, bring it to the talent. So I'm now seeing behind the scenes of the industry. I'm seeing how PR companies move, how they announce, these big different things in Hollywood, or how, sponsorship behind these certain festivals, and so many different things that I've been able to balance. And just like, okay, cool. Like, most artists don't know what it takes behind the scenes, right? They just kind of just show up, they sit in, they get their hair and makeup done, sound done and they're ready to rock.
Mhm.
But now as a person who's like, okay, hey, do we have the run of show? Or
Yeah, you get
hey,
the
we
whole
got to post
picture.
this. You get the whole picture of it. And so it's been a blessing to learn more than anything and just kind of bring both worlds and merge them together. But it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. Managing that schedule, managing
Yes.
that time. You know, as I told you, I just got back from New York
Mhm,
yesterday,
mhm.
and we produced a 2-day festival out there in New York, and I'm getting ready to go again next weekend. But after this, I got to go tape an audition. You know, I was on the way to New York, and I got a callback audition that I had to tape live on Zoom with them. So I'm in a corner in the airport where everyone's going back with their luggage. You know what I mean? And so it's just
Yeah.
like, it's crazy, but this is the life. You
It
know what I mean? And
is.
you just have to find ways to make it make sense. And I'm doing a good job so far.
You've said to me that being in this corporate side, that you're considering it's like a season of service, which I think is a
Yes.
really powerful way to reframe a pivot.
Mhm.
What does that season of service mean? Like, it's interesting how you bring both sides and you learning from all of it. But tell me about the season of service. What does that mean to you?
I think for me, as a talent, as a person in front of the camera, right, you're always looking for the next opportunity to show how good you are, to show how great you are, or the work ethic, or whatever, the next role. And shifting from being that to behind the camera in the sense that now I am pitching those people who I feel
Yes.
like deserve to be in front of the role. And so that service for me is like putting my friends on and saying, oh, do you know this person's really talented? Oh, we're trying to hire somebody for this. I know this person who does that. Or like servicing even just the championing of these other filmmakers and
Yes.
storytellers by posting them on social media or creating different things for them or just giving them a platform to show how great they are. And I'm like, okay, I could easily be like, oh, well, I do this
I could
too.
do that too.
Exactly. And there's part of me, I'm like, sit back. This ain't about you right now. You know what I mean? And so, you know, fighting that, but it's been humbling. It's been great because now I'm also learning from these people that even if it's not people I know directly, it's people that I've admired. I'm in the
Yes.
rooms with Hollywood legacy, people who I grew up watching, and I'm learning, you know, the roads that they've paved or the paths that they've, what's the word? Paths that they rode?
Well, I don't.
They'll edit
Anyway,
that out.
all their paths, their
All their
journey. Let's
things,
just say their journey.
you know, their journeys. I'm learning their journeys, and I'm just like, okay, cool. I'm kind of like picking, and it's kind of like a tree that's bearing fruit, and I'm just like, okay, I see that. I see why that one didn't grow as big, or I see why that one's fruitful. I see, you know what I mean. And so it's been a blessing because I'm serving, and I'm not so focused on like what's next for me.
Right.
I'm balancing all of it. I'm still doing that, but I'm also pouring into other people, and I think that's
Yeah.
what's great.
I think it's really amazing because I imagine for that 7 years when you did not have like a 9 to 5 kind of structure, you do always have to be looking for the opportunities. Like you can't let anything kind of pass you by, right? And so that mind shift of like, actually, there's someone else who might be really good for this, and I'm not going to think of it as like a good vehicle for me, maybe not in that way that I would have in the past. And I wonder, like, was there an adjustment to do that? Because
For sure. Funny enough, before I got hired at this job, I'm the manager of social media and digital content there. And so I had applied for this role, but before applying for this role, I had seen a competition for like Breakout Comedian of the Year. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna apply for this thing. Yeah. Not knowing the relation between the competition and the company. So I get pulled in for the interview, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we saw your tape, by the way." So it was one of those things. You want to do the competition, or you want a job?
Oh,
Like, you
wow.
know what I mean? And so I'm definitely gonna take the job.
But maybe not definitely. Like, why was that your decision?
Well, and not to say it was just handed on a silver platter like that, but it was like, okay, in my mind, even if that were to be a situation where it's like, hey, you get this opportunity, it's still a competition.
Yeah.
I'm still 1 or 2 years into the game of comedy at this time, and you could go to the finals, but you might not win. Now you still also need a job.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
yes.
And so I was like, definitely sign me up. And so, but it was an adjustment. Like now I'm watching the tapes of the comedians who made it. I'm just like, that was funny. That was funny. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? And so
you can appreciate it.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, cool. I see it. They're deserving. Let's do the thing. Let's give them the love. Let's pour into them. And now as a comedian, I can also provide my perspective when we're in the rooms talking about, hey, okay, how much time should we give them? Hey, do comedians like this right before that? And so I'm like, okay, this still works out. I'm servicing it. I'm still feeling fulfilled because I have a perspective and it's being acknowledged and people are, you know, taking my insight and they're applying it for sure.
I love that you're bringing in like the best of both worlds.
Mhm.
You know, and at the same time, you've also spoken about being ready to be a star.
Mhm.
What does that mean for you in terms of emotional, mental alignment?
Mhm.
You know, the work that you're doing now, bringing in other people. What does being a star mean for you now?
It's I feel like stardom, fame, all those things are
Mm.
changing now. I feel like
Mm.
in today's climate, it's almost not good to be too famous,
Too
right? It
famous,
just it's
right?
so it's like I'm like dialing back on that a bit. Like I
Oh,
just
let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
like
Say more.
I want to be that guy. I know I
Yeah.
am that guy,
Uh-huh.
right? But then also I'm learning from the greats and I'm seeing how it can affect them
Mm.
or how uh Denzel famously says if you drink too much water you'll drown, right?
Mm.
And so I don't ever want to get to that point where it's headline, 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 paparazzi, like
Right.
craziness. Like
Yes.
I would love it for it to be positive, right? But you can't control
You
all
can't
of that.
control that, right?
So I'm looking at people who are a little bit more private, but are
Mm-hmm.
still successful,
Mm-hmm.
right? People that don't necessarily overshare,
Yeah.
but you still know they're there. You know what I
Interesting.
mean?
That's
And
interesting.
so stardom to me is still, the red carpet, the acclaim,
Mm-hmm.
the et cetera, but it's not to the point where it's like I'm full of myself in a way
Yeah.
where it's like gluttonous fame in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want that. I still want to remain humble. I still want to give God the glory. I
Yeah.
still want to be known as this family man. I still want to be known as a philanthropist,
Mm-hmm.
person who gives back, person who brings people together more than anything. And so I think chasing stardom is more so just chasing acknowledgement in a
Mm.
way. Like everybody wants to feel valid.
Yes.
Everybody wants to be recognized for their work. And I feel like once you get to that certain level, and if it's enough for you, then fine. It doesn't necessarily take 100 million people to know who
Mm-hmm.
you are in order for that to happen or for you to be successful. So
Yes.
I'm still learning what that definition is. I know I'm ready in the sense that I've worked hard over these 9 years
Mm-hmm.
to prepare myself. I've learned. I'm still learning.
Yes.
I know what it takes, and it's about the work ethic. It's about, are you likable? Are people gonna speak good things about your name when you're
Mm-hmm.
not in the room? And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I've done all I can in these years to protect my name and to know that I do good work and know that it holds a little bit of weight. And so I think in that way I've made it. And I think in that way, once the stardom does come, it's not gonna come with a but Ben, he's an asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
Ben,
Nobody
he's
really wants to work with him, but
you
I
know what I'm
guess you
saying?
have
Like
to.
that's to
Yeah.
me is being ready for stardom, is making sure those relationships, you're not screwing people over. You help people. You're
Mm-hmm.
kind, and
Mm-hmm.
so I think in that essence, I'm definitely ready for stardom in that space.
Yeah. I think, when you're thinking about the concerns about, you know, that being a star, like
Mhm.
being famous, and you also, and I'm sure you see this in some of the rooms that you're in, people who like need that,
Mhm.
and that's really what matters, is like they need the recognition, they
Mhm.
need the fame, they need the adoration.
Mhm.
And without it, not really feeling like they're valid.
Mhm.
How do you think that your varied experience also will stop you from like getting to that point?
I look at all of this as practice, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
right now, as creators, and I'm sure all the creators out there that may be watching, like you put something on Instagram or TikTok or any social media
Yeah.
platform, right? And let's say it goes viral. You
Mhm.
get 1 million views or you get whatever viral is to you, right? You get those endorphins, you feel good. You're like,
Yes.
yes, da, 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 da. And then the next day, you post something or a few weeks later, a few days later, and it doesn't do as good. It's
Mm.
significantly less, right? And that emotion you feel kind of dictates how you feel in the
Yes.
sense that, or how well it does kind of dictates how you feel, right?
Mhm.
And
How
so
you feel
now
about yourself. Yeah.
you're kind of like chasing that again. You're like,
Mhm.
no, look at me. I'm the guy.
Yeah.
I can get another 1 million views. And so I've learned from trial and error, from having those experiences, that the best way is to not get too high on your highs, not to
Mm.
get too low on your lows,
Yeah.
right? Like you have to stay in the middle. And I even
Yes.
learned that from Malcolm D. Lee this past weekend in New
Mhm.
York. Is what he was speaking. Like,
Mm.
this is a creator, filmmaker, director who has created something that's lasted
Yes.
years. The Best
Yes.
Man
Yes.
series, the
Absolutely.
book now,
Mhm.
and then just his number of successful films, right? But he's not necessarily someone who is in the spotlight all the
Mhm.
time, but he's work speaks for
Yes.
himself, right?
Yes.
And so there's different levels of it, I think, and it's just determined on what you think, what you
Mhm.
want. And so I don't ever want to get to that point where I'm just like, I need it. I've seen what that looks like.
Yes.
I've worked with those types of people. It's
Uh-huh.
not fun.
Yes.
And they feel like, that is what carries weight in the room, or like, oh, because I'm such and such, you should
Mhm.
treat me that. Well, no, we're
Mhm.
treating everybody the same. And
Yes.
we respect the work you do. and we're always going to acknowledge that in the best light, but don't throw that at me as a way to diminish what we're trying to do or feel, you know what I mean?
Right.
There's levels to it. And so just learning from people who are humble, being in the same room as Denzel Washington when we are showing a tribute package to him and he's not even watching the package. And this is a package that, we've spent hours,
blood,
days,
sweat, and tears, I'm sure.
But he's so humble and not vain that he doesn't want to indulge in that. Like, oh yeah, look at me, look at all the accomplishments I've done. You know what I'm saying? So all this time, this thing is, playing on the monitor, like right here. His eyes are this way. He's down. He's probably praying. He's in his mind. He's getting focused. He's still acknowledging what's happening. He's hearing the audio. Some of his famous lines are being said. He's saying it alongside. We're beside him, like, yeah. Oh, nothing on me. Like, we're having a good time. But he's still focused and humble in that moment.
Yes.
He walks into a crowd of over 2,000 people standing, ovation. He's like, no, please. You know what I mean? And so it's like, this is a man who's reached the highest of highs.
Yes.
And here I am, who's a person who's up and coming, wanting to reach these levels of success. And I'm looking at the person who's at that level, and they're okay. They're calm. They're not self-indulgent. Maybe there were times that he was like that.
And maybe that's how you learn, right?
And that's how you learn. But it's like, if I'm given the opportunity to learn now, like, why not?
Yes.
Why not get ahead of it?
Right. And by being in the room, but in a different way than you have been in the past, you do get to see a lot of different kinds of success, modeled, and so that you can decide, okay, this feels aligned with me. 1000%. This feels like what is actually attractive to me. Maybe I thought it was this other thing, but now I see this, and I see this person who is calm and centered and settled in themselves, and that's actually the dream.
1000%. Yeah, and that's the blessing, I think, being able to blend these two worlds together: the corporate life, the creative life, and seeing these people in these spaces and just kind of being a fly on the wall. Like, a lot of my job is to capture content, right? And so, while I'm holding a phone, I'm also still soaking up this information, and so I'm like, oh wow, okay, that's interesting. I see how they move, or like, the person who speaks to everybody when they come in, or the person who expects you to speak to them when they come in. It's like, okay, we clock it, we see it, but it's one of those things where it's like, and then also just me, living in Texas for as long as I did, understanding Southern hospitality and knowing, how to move in certain spaces, all of those things I bring with me. So it's like, you can't necessarily let Hollywood or this industry change you, and a lot of people do.
Yes.
And so remaining in that core essence of who you are. Like, I remember growing up, my parents would always tell me, remember who you are. Remember the child of whom you are. And so, when you go to school, don't join bad gangs. Remember the child of who you are. Like, all those things. And so now, as I'm older, I'm still remembering the child of whom I am, And so I carry that with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thinking about the other ways that you want to move forward and like the kind of storytelling that you want to bring to the world. You write and direct and star in a proof of concept series, right? The Last Abiola.
Yeah.
And you turn raw ideas into reality without waiting for the perfect moment. Talk to me about that, and talk to me about how all of that goes into your form of storytelling that you do.
Absolutely. I think funniest thing, when one of my good friends, Richard Cannon, anytime we're getting ready to create, like, or we hit a bump in the road of like brain farts or writer's block, whatever, and we don't know what to create, first thing he always asks is like, what's going on in your life? Right? What's going on in your life? And that's where we start when it comes to ideas. What's going on in your life? And as a writer, they always tell you, write what you know.
Yes.
And so that was a combination of what's going on in my life and writing what I know. And so the Last Abiola story stemmed from my own personal journey with reconnecting with my father and reconnecting with my family, the Abiolas.
Okay.
And so me being the last Abiola to return home, the last Abiola to meet everybody who is an Abiola or in our family, it was like, okay, there's something here. There's a story that I know I'm not the only person who's experiencing. And so, meeting my father in my mid-30s for the first time is not necessarily an anomaly, but it's also just like still a shock. It's like, oh, wow, how?
Talk to me about that. Like, how did that come about, and how did you decide to bring that very personal part of your life into your storytelling?
I felt like it was the closest and fastest way for me to heal from it. I think, I didn't
heal from the previous disconnect, or heal from the
disconnect.
Okay.
Both, I guess. Yeah, heal from the disconnect for sure. I think when I was younger, growing up, it was just like, why? And then I got reached out to by my older brother and my older sister on his side. And, I'm just like, oh.
Where were they living?
Living in London. They still live in London. And so to me, I was in college when they first reached out. And so I was just like immature. I was like, what? They got me on Facebook. Who is it? Like, I'm talking to my mom like, this? And so now she's revealing things to me that we never discussed. And so I'm learning all these things at a young age, but I wasn't ready for it.
Okay.
So fast forward to like 2022, I had an opportunity to go back to London and do some work with BuzzFeed and do some fun creating. And I knew I wanted to see family out there that I had. And that's when I was like, you know what? I think I'm ready to do this. And so I reached back out to my older brother and sister. I was like, hey, I'll be out there. I'd love to meet you all, this, that, and the other. Ended up meeting them too, but my dad was in Nigeria at the time. And so it didn't work out. Fast forward 2 years later, 2024, I'm going back to London again, this time for work. And so I speak with my brother. He's like, you know what, let's arrange it. You and dad need to meet. Cool. So we meet at a restaurant in London. I'm with my brother, with my dad. It's all three of us. We're talking like men. And, I'm finally asking these questions that I've wanted to ask since before I was a teenager.
What kind of questions?
You know what I mean? Just like, what happened? Why didn't you and my mom last? Why has it taken your kids to reach out to me? Why am I just now meeting you now at this age, at this time? You know what I mean? All of those things. And so there's three sides to every story. And so learning his side for me allowed me to be a little bit more forgiving in that moment. Because at first I was just like, man, no, where's my child support?
Right, and there's no satisfactory answer to that. No matter what he says, you're not going to be like, oh, okay, all right, great.
Yeah, but it was like hearing what he was saying, it made me a little bit more forgiving. It was like, okay, I didn't know that. Got it. However, you know what I mean? Where do we go from here? And so that led to him inviting me to come to Nigeria. I know I wanted to go to Nigeria. I hadn't been to Nigeria. So I went to Nigeria earlier this year for the first time in my life, this past April. So I stayed in his home, met so many other family members, went to where he grew up, found out that I'm a prince, found out just that our ancestral land was founded by like my great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather. My father's building a school in Nigeria. Like, finding all these things, and it's just like, whoa, like what in the Prince's Diary is going on? Right? You know what I mean? Like, this actually makes no sense.
Interesting.
And so, imagine you go into this country the first time that you're from, where your last name comes from, but you've never really fully connected with that identity, right? And so it's always been a struggle, like knowing the language, being able to speak it small, understanding it more than I can speak it, but never actually touching soil. And so for me, it was just like, okay, I need to do this for me because I've always wanted to do it. I've traveled to all these other places and Bali and this, that, but I've never been to Nigeria. Like, what are you talking about? You call yourself a Nigerian, man, right? So I finally do that. Now I'm like healing. I'm like, yes, I feel good. But now I'm also doing this for the first time with my father, right? And so, obviously you can't make up for all these years in one trip, but it was a good first step.
Yes.
And so on that trip, I had just the greatest time. I got to learn about my lineage. I got to experience my roots. I got to understand why I carry myself the way I do. And so that led me to be like, okay, there's a story here that I want to create. And I think the only way for me to kind of let those feelings out is to put it either pen to paper or, to digital, make that video, make that film, whatever. And so the last Abiola proof of concept was me while I was in Nigeria, like, you know what? I need to find a videographer. I need to find actors. And I just want to shoot some quick scenes. So I shot 3 scenes that we put out as episodes, essentially, and now we're kind of just telling the story of me coming home and reconnecting. And I only had 9 days in Nigeria, so I literally found a day within that time and shot everything in a day, and boom, 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 boom. I finally saw the footage, got it edited, and I was like, okay, this is great. How do I want to package it? So I was like, a lot of times, you want to package it, you want to wait till it's perfect, try to go find the studio, find this, that. And I was like, you know what? No, like, this is so personal to me, and this may touch somebody that, like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to put it out there. I'll feel good about it. Like, I can still go back and pitch it. I can still go do all the things, but, like, why not create the art and just put it out there?
Yes.
And whether it gets 100,000 views, 100 views, like, I'm happy that it exists in the ether, in the space.
Yes.
And it's going to find the right people when it does at the right time. And so I was like, okay, cool. And now I can go back and say, hey, here's something I created. Here's the proof of concept.
Yeah.
people love it, hear these comments, people see it. Now I'm packaging it. Now let's go make the movie, or let's go make the real series, or whatever the case may be. And so it's like using your personal experiences and turning it into art, I think, is some of the most vulnerable things you can do as a creative. I think it was hard for me, but some of the responses that I got from friends that told me, oh, they hadn't met their father before, or they just recently met their father, or they're thinking about meeting their father. I was like, oh, wow, like, okay, people care about this story.
It touches people.
People understand where I'm coming from. It's not just another piece of content. Right. And so I felt good about it. I think now as a creative, I want to continue to stay in that lane. Like I've always created from what I know.
Of telling personal stories.
Personal stories, but just more so like stories that I feel like resonate with people within my culture, one. But then just people in general. Like I think I use comedy a lot of times to bridge the gap of relatability. And so like I have a short film called December 21st, and it was famously about that Twitter incident where it's like December 21st is where all Black people get their superpowers. It was like trending and everything. And so I made a short film about it, and it was a comedy, but I was also using it to talk about social justice issues. And so the main character that I play, his superpower ended up being white privilege. And so with that white privilege you see in the short film, oh man, he's got a loan now, or he can go protest and not get
and actually make it home. Yes.
You get what I'm saying? And so like I've always wanted to be able to do that style of storytelling, still sending a message but using a different guise. And so even with The Last Abiola, like, you know, there's jokes and there's laughter of me like being disconnected from the culture in certain areas, but it's also me wanting to get back to my roots as the underlying story. And so I think people can relate to that. And so just learning as I'm creating and as I go, I think that's definitely the lane I want to step into for sure.
Yeah. And you know, as you shared your story, but like I'm also imagining, what's that Tom Cruise movie where he's bringing in all the different kinds of, you know.
Which one? It's not a Mission Impossible one.
No, it's not a Mission Impossible. But I'm kind of imagining like, you know, all these different parts of the puzzle of your story, right? So you are this creator and you're telling stories. You're also behind the scenes. You're seeing people either like live out that like stardom life very like very artfully and intentionally or not, and then bring in like getting to know your father and like by relation like so much stuff about your culture, like just kind of all coming together to make you into like a different kind of storyteller and like a much more like an authentic one, you know, by sharing all this personal journey that you've had.
Yeah, I think it, you know, things that make you stand out is having a unique perspective, right? Like I feel like the reason why Sinners is doing so great right now is because it's a unique perspective. Like it's a vampire story set in the 1920s and this, that, and it's just like, oh wow, we haven't ever seen that. And so I think for me, my own personal story, being Nigerian, growing up in London, moving from London to Texas, now chasing my dream in Los Angeles, it's like I've gotten all these different pieces and parts of me. And as I'm learning, as I'm getting older, I'm reconnecting with more of who I am. And so I just want to tell what that story is, because I know I'm not the only one, right? And even if my story isn't a direct reflection of someone else's, there's bits and pieces of it that you can pull, whether it's connectivity, you know, connection, you know, all those different things that we all yearn for in many different ways. I think storytelling is that vehicle that helps us kind of understand, oh, okay, I get this guy. Or okay, I understand why he chose to do something like that. And so I just always want to put out content, stories, whatever you want to call it nowadays, that people are just like, okay, that was good. One, it was entertaining, but I also learned something from it.
Yeah, there is a connection for them. I think it's so important. Thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you.
If people want to find out more about what you're working on, where can they find you?
You can find me on social media at Sir Abiola, naturally, right? Check out my YouTube, check out all the social accounts. I need to get my website up and popping, but I'm working on some things. But yeah, Sir Abiola on all socials, and working on The Last Abiola. Now the next step is to make it a series somewhere. At least make a short film first, then maybe use that as a way to pitch. But I'm always creating. I have a bunch of different series ideas that I'm working on. So if you want to work, let's work. Holla at me.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Patrice.
For more on what I'm doing, you can follow me on TikTok or Instagram at Dr. Patrice Le Goy. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please like and subscribe, and also would love to hear feedback or ideas for future shows. Thank you for listening.